Yeah.
Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you from God, who is Creator, Christ, and Comforter. Amen. Here we are, the last of the 8 C's found in Brian McLaren's book, The Story We Find Ourselves In. To recap, the 8 C's are creation, crisis, covenant, captivity, conversation, Christ, and last week we talked about church. I've intentionally not quoted from this fabulous book in hopes that you would read the whole trilogy that Brian McLaren has written. I hope I've intrigued you, urged you, even enticed you to read these books and to have discussions with people you love about them. So today, we're at the last C, consummation. Consummation is that final moment when each and every one of us will individually stand before the God of all creation and give an account of our lives. This, obviously, hasn't happened yet. We're still here. And in our day, Christian churches are full of all kinds of ideas of how and what is going to happen. Everything from this post-apocalyptical type of ending where every gun available is blazing and firing and putting a bloody end to our planet, to those congregations and churches that espouse no ending at all, just going on, life going on as we know it, and when we die, we simply return to the dust from which we came. We don't sit on either one of those extremes as Lutherans. We truly believe there is a day when we will stand before the God of all creation. So I am going to read to you the explanation that Neo, one of the main characters in this trilogy, gave about the consummation. It's important for you to know that Neo is a Jamaican-born science teacher who was raised and ordained as a Baptist pastor. But upon coming to the United States, he found that the Episcopal Church, and he realized that its teachings were more in line with his own theology, though not perfectly. And isn't that simply fabulous? That said, Neo has a friend, Carrie, who's dying. And as a renewed Christian, she is having this conversation in the hospital of just a few hours before she herself dies. So Neo is explaining that last C of consummation with these words. Imagine that God retains every moment of your life, and not just what would be visible to another person. Imagine that God remembers every thought and feeling, and every nuance of thought and feeling, including all the ones you weren't even aware of. And imagine that God is retaining the memory of every other person at every moment too, and not just people, but every living thing, and even the moments and states of non-living things. Imagine that the past is never lost, not 1 second or 1 dimension of 1 nuance of meaning of the story anywhere. It's all remembered, all kept in God's memory. Now imagine that point out in the future. When we get there, not only will we be what we are at that final moment, but we will also find that all that we have ever been, all that God has remembered, and we will be reunited with all we have ever been. We won't only be the little sliver of ourselves that we are at this instant we call the present. We will be the composite of ourselves through our whole lifetime, all gathered together in God's presence, consummated, summed up, gathered into the mind and heart of God. All the momentary members of our life story, all the me of a second ago, the me now, and the me that will be in the next second, all of these members will be remembered, reunited in God's memory. Carrie leaned her head back, closed her eyes, and clapped her hands together and laughed. Now that's heaven. That's heaven, isn't it? I can see it. I mean, just a glimpse, but I get what you're getting at. That's heaven, to be with God and to be gathered together with all that I have ever been. something real and solid, something real. Wait. Neil replied, but it's even better than that. You'll be judged. Carrie's eyes had been closed, and now she opened them wide and looked at Neo. What? That hardly sounds... I know, he broke in. At first it sounds terrible, but follow me. You'll be in God's presence, and you will be remembered and recollected, reunited and reconstituted in God, that you will have passed through God's judgment. It will exist only as having been seen and known and remembered and evaluated by God. So you, not just the fragmentary you from this moment, but the fully constituted you that emerges out of every moment of your life, will be shown to you. You will see who you truly have been and have become. Every moment of your life will have been weighed and tested, and all that was false or partial or dishonest or dark will have been identified. And all that was generous and joyful and honest and true will have been identified. All our wrongs are identified. There is no sugarcoating, no watering down, no denying. No pretending that our misdeeds didn't happen. They're faced and known by God for all they were. But what if all the guilt and regret and shame of that judgment are absorbed into God's pain? You know, the pain Jesus made visible on the cross. And so, God forgives us. So none of our wrongs count for anything anymore. And we are you ready for this? What if God, by judging our wrongs as evil and therefore worthless, actually forgets our wrongs forever because they're worthless now? Can you imagine what it means to say that God forgets forever? And in God you find yourself. And you find everything and everyone, everything and everyone that God has remembered. Everything and everyone that have passed through God's judgment, which retains only the good and true and beautiful. Everything bad and false and ugly has been let go, forgotten, left in the past, not retained in God's memory, gone forever. The universe that God unleashed at the beginning has run free across the field of time and now arrives at God in the future. Everything comes home, where everything good and beautiful belongs. And that, my dear sisters and brothers, is one of the most beautiful things I have ever read and heard and embraced.